Okay. We'll call this, are you ready? I'm sorry. Wait. Okay. We'll call this meeting of the Salary Board, July 10th, 2024, to order. Is there any public comment? Go ahead. Come up, Mr. Mackhouse.
Edward Mackhouse, retired government employee, federal government, scientist, engineer. I'd like to, salaries need to keep up with inflation, so inflation's a factor. Whatever salary a person has, if the inflation doubles, the real income decreases. The biggest problem with inflation is the government borrowing. Is a $3 trillion a year deficit now, and $1 trillion just pays on the interest on the debt that we need. And the biggest cause of this is that under President Trump, we had the first significant surplus in energy production with fossil fuels since World War II. And we were energy dependent, and we only owed $500 billion a year for interest. So people that invest in America need to get something in return, and that's like energy. Pennsylvania has enough energy, fossil fuel energy, for 100 years. As a scientist and engineer, I know that Dr. Clauser, the Nobel Prize physicist, says it's $1 trillion wasted every year on this climate hysteria. He explains it clearly that the climate normally goes and there's a recycle due to the normal process. So this money being wasted on this climate hysteria is what's driving inflation and the lack of the fossil fuel development in Pennsylvania. So who can do this better? President Trump and a governor would be the best solution for this. But people are losing confidence in Biden and—
Mr. Mackhouse, you've got to focus on salary board issues.
This is salaries.
It's not.
It's inflation.
Okay.
What's
you need
best?
to focus on the Bucks County Salary Board issues, not political stuff.
Okay. So the Bucks County Salary Board has money, like I'm a retired engineer too, physicist, and so I'm affected by inflation too. And so you have to plan on the salaries to count for inflation. So whatever salaries you're going to have, if the inflation keeps up, it's still going to be lower, and the real cost of living is going to be decreased. So focus on what's best for the people in Bucks County.
Thank you. I appreciate the end of your comments. Was there any other public comment? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 5th, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And let's begin with the approval of salary board actions and start with the courts. And we have adult probation as the position today.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners. I'm here to request a new probation officer, and my request is for a new position that we will hire. We will take a probation officer currently existing in our staff and move them to Veterans Court. So we're asking for a position, but we're asking for an entry-level position so that we can move somebody into the Veterans Court position and then have a new officer assigned to handle what they were doing. We're just as the line moves up.
Are there any questions for His Honor? Just a general comment. The hope is that if we have that grant approved, we will use the funding from the Outmate grant towards this.
That is certainly our
When that happens.
intention. And I will say, if we don't get that grant, we are still able to absorb this position.
Terrific. Is there a motion to approve the adult probation officer item number
I'll
one?
make the motion if I'm permitted.
Sure.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Consumer protection. And there is a correction on this. The change in wage proposed should be $30.77.
And that is correct. Good morning, esteemed board members. Thank you for having me here today. I am here to talk about raising the salary cap for our office manager position by $3,620 from where it's at right now. You may be aware, I think you are aware, that we have a lot of retail development going on in Bucks County. This has caused us to, requires us to do more retail inspections. I have reallocated one of our consumer protection investigator positions to a weights and measures position to handle the increase in inspections at gas stations and supermarkets as they're going up all over the place, which is a good thing. However, it's really increased a lot of the work, and in particular, the billing and receiving for the office manager role. We have a lot of small bills that come out that have to be tracked and accurate when we send them to businesses. That is the drive here today for my request.
Thank you. Are there questions? Go ahead.
I was going to say, Mr. Bannon, I know in your explanation you mentioned that your department does bring in revenue, and so that revenue you're bringing in is going to cover this cost, do you think?
Yes, I do believe it will. I think our revenue, because of the new construction, has steadily gone up the past couple of years. So yes, it should absolutely absorb this relatively small increase.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Since there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve the consumer protection position?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 1.
Is there any? Is there a second? Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Chamonix Manor Business Office. Good morning.
Good morning, Salary Board. So our first request is for number 2 and number 4. It's basically the same thing. We want to change the title from Financial Analyst 2 to Fiscal Development Director. And the reason for this change is this person will still have the financial analyst duties, but also now take over for the foundation at the Manor. The foundation at the Manor has been run by former employees who've retired for many years now, and they can no longer run the foundation. And this foundation brings in over $20,000 a year for Neshaminy Manor. And we use that money to create our great courtyards. For example, this year we bought some permanent shade structures for our courtyards that will last over 20 years, and we expanded our AO courtyard. That cost about $60,000, but it did not cost the county anything because we were able to pay through it through the foundation. So without someone directing the foundation, then we will no longer be able to get that money, and we'll have to, in order to upkeep the courtyards, we'll have to use county money. So that's the change for that. And then the second change is for our administrative assistant position, and we've just increased the scope and handles for additional responsibilities. Everyone knows it's much harder to bring in staff nowadays, so it's vital important that we've created some new tools for this person to use. Additional duties include reviewing open positions, recruiting job applicants, utilizing a position control analysis, which will help reduce overtime, and also coordinating, tracking, preparing disciplines, grievances, and ladder mills. And this request will also bring the position's wage closer to similar non-union assistant positions in the county.
Terrific. Are there questions?
I have, go ahead. Did you have a question? Oh, thank you. It sounds wonderful. The foundation, is that a separate 501c3 entity?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. Does the foundation have a board of trustees
Yes,
or a
yeah,
board?
so we have a board, and this person would be on the board too.
Okay. I don't have a question for you, but I really just have a question for our solicitor and whether or not a County of Bucks employee can raise money for a nonprofit, a separate and distinct legal entity from the County of Bucks.
Well, this is the first I've heard of this. So I'll have to look into the issue and get back to the board once I do some research.
This 501c3, I mean, it's been there 20 years?
It's been there for many, many years, and that's the one that created this whole foundation, created the whole C1 giant patio, and it was run by employees prior.
But it was run by retired employees. They were working for free, right?
So initially, the activities director and a business office manager did oversee it. And then once they retired, they still ran it.
But that's been like 3 years, right?
Yes,
4
about 3 years, yes.
So for 3 years, it's been run, I guess, by the retired employees.
Right. I don't have a problem with the foundation. I don't have a problem with the foundation raising money for the nursing home. Again, I fully support it. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think they're doing great things. I just have a concern whether or not taxpayer dollars can go, can pay. My understanding is this employee is going to kind of do two jobs, right? Still do the fiscal administrator jobs or the fiscal analyst job, right? And pick up new duties running this, right?
Correct, and they're changed from hourly to salary, so if some of these duties have to happen
Right.
at nighttime or in the evening, then
Yeah.
we'd be able to.
I just would feel a little bit more comfortable if we had legal opinion, support, that a Bucks County employee who's being paid by taxpayer dollars can raise money for a separate and distinct legal entity. That's my only concern.
I'm happy to look at this. This is the first I'm hearing about this concern. I wasn't provided a packet of the salary board actions but prior to this meeting, and it might be because of the holiday weekend, I'm not sure. But I'm happy to look at that and get back to the board.
Can we approve it pending final approval by the solicitor?
The solicitor says, yes, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Can we
what's
do
the,
that?
So what's the distinct question you're asking me is if a county employee can do what?
Can fundraise for a separate and distinct legal entity, a nonprofit?
So if the answer is no, does that mean that it's not approved?
That's how I understand
but
it.
as
It would be qualified, our vote today would be qualified.
I think it would
We're all
be-
hoping that the employee can.
We're going to have a few employees who are involved in stuff like this in other places, task
No, and
force
I
and stuff.
understand that. I just, unless this is an urgent need, it might be better for the board to consider this action next month after we've fully researched it and provided advice to the board. I don't know how urgent of a need it is.
Well, we always want to raise money. Now, unfortunately, we did have to already cancel the golf outing, and that golf outing alone brings in $20,000. So we would have liked to be able to start right away, so maybe instead of having our golf outing in September, we can look at something maybe in the fall, but
Excuse me, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll defer to the chair, however you want to handle it. I'm fine either way, whether,
It would be interesting, no matter what happens, for the solicitor to get back to us, but, I'm okay with making a motion to approve it, and pending solicitor's approval, we could come back and delete it next month if it turns out that we're not allowed to do this. So I would make that motion.
I agree, because I know just from family working for the Community College Foundation, they're community college employees, but they work for the Community College Foundation. And so the job is to fundraise, so I see this really no differently. But certainly interested to hear Mr. Greaser's review, but I have no problem approving this as of right now.
Okay, so I made a motion to approve this pending the solicitor's approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other matters to come before the board?
Yes, Chairwoman. We have one housekeeping matter. At last month's on the June agenda for salary board, there was a position, a poll worker coordinator position, which was added in the Board of Voter Registration. It was listed on the public agenda as being exempt. However, this position is actually non-exempt. And just for transparency reasons, it's just a housekeeping matter here today.
You just need to say it. We don't need to motion for anything.
I don't believe we need a motion, do we?
Yeah, I think you do need a motion because you approved the matter as it was stated on the agenda last month. So I'd make a motion to amend that to reflect the accurate, code or whatever.
So moved. I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other matters? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.